It's now time for Remember When with Uncle John. John Guess, Ouachita County's resident storyteller and local historian. Sit back now and enjoy a walk down memory lane as John recalls the days of yesteryear in his own unique way. You never know, some of it might even be true. So here's Uncle John, along with his trusty sidekick, Kelly Blair.
Back on Remember When with Uncle John. Well, here we are already at the midpoint of the week. Around here, these spots, we call it Wassailing Wednesday. Exactly what kind of wassailing do you want to talk about today, John?
Well, New Year's Day, which was Sunday.
Yeah, a couple of days ago.
Was the 79th birthday of one of the most unlikeliest wrestling personalities of all time.
Unlikely.
The mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
Oh yeah, if you saw Jimmy Hart walking down the street, what is he? About 5'7", maybe $120 or something.
Yeah,
a little skinny old squirt. You would not think professional wrestling.
No, you wouldn't. But I'm telling you, Jerry the King Lawler brought him into the business, because of his musical background. And the guy has made a name for himself. He's been very entertaining. I remember, him running around screeching, with that megaphone.
Golly,
but the guy managed a load of people, man.
And managed a lot more champions than most of those other managers.
Yeah, the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart, the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine, Rhythm and Blues. He just IRS, Irwin R. Shyster, the Mountie. He managed the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, the Natural Disasters, Dino Bravo, the Nasty Boys. He even managed Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
And the guy has been in the business a long time. He's the one that's when they started coming into entrance, ring music, somebody else's song.
Right.
They started finding out you had to pay royalties for that. So,
copyright issues.
So, a lot of them put Jimmy Hart on the tail end of getting musicians and making their own songs, so that way they could control the money, which is a smart thing to do.
No doubt.
He got his start in the music business as a member of the Gentrys. In 1965, they had a top 5 Billboard 100 hit, "Keep on Dancing." I remember the song. But the guy has been there. Of course, he's been hand in hand, arm in arm, with Jerry the King Lawler, as opposites and opponents and everything else. But they worked arm in arm, hand in hand for years and years and years.
Well, I always thought for the longest time, I mean years, maybe a decade, the biggest feud maybe in all of wrestling was not Jerry Lawler versus another wrestler, but it was Jerry Lawler versus Jimmy Hart.
Right.
Which makes it really great because that means Jimmy Hart can just keep bringing in one monster heel after another one to try to upset or, upend Jerry the King Lawler.
He was born in Jackson, Mississippi. He was in the WWF from 85 to 93, WCW from 94 to 2001. He went independent in 2002. He done TNA from 2003 to 2011, went back to the WWE in 2011, and is still there, and in all sorts of capacities. But the guy is just, he's done it all in wrestling, and he's like I said, if you met him, if you didn't know anything about wrestling, if you never watched wrestling, and you met him on the street, you would think the guy worked at a shoe store.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he has made a name for himself, and I'm sure made a ton of money doing it.
Well, you went through the whole list, Hall of Famers. Of course, I didn't get to see a lot of Memphis wrestling growing up. I've watched a lot of it on YouTube as an adult, but growing up, didn't have access to Memphis TV or anything like that, but I do remember Jimmy Hart being the manager for Greg the Hammer Valentine, who was Intercontinental Champion in the very first WrestleMania. I mean, go all the way back to the glory days like that.
Right, absolutely. And a lot of them, they get a couple of good runs and that's it. very few of them get to stay around as long as he has.
Oh, yeah. Longevity is certainly a big factor in what kind of career that you have.
I think about some of the wrestlers and the managers that I've seen come and go over the last 50 years, and he's still there, and he's been there a long time. There's a lot to be said for that.
Without question, no doubt about it. A bona fide Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
All right, that's going to wrap up Remember When with Uncle John here for today, but we do want to thank ProMed Ambulance Service for being one of our great sponsors.
Give them a call, 1-800-634-0436, and get signed up.
Also, Sherwin-Williams House Paint right there at 315 Jefferson Street here in Camden. Interior or exterior paint, Greg Bradshaw and his staff can hook you up. Give them a holler at 836-8125.
And J.J. Lindsay down to Shopper's Guide. Give him a call for all your printing needs, no matter what you need. Stationery, business cards, whatever you need, give J.J. a call.
And be sure to check out our podcast, folks, anywhere you can find podcasts, including Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or right there on our very own Radio Works Facebook page. I guess we'll see you tomorrow, John.
See you tomorrow, Kelly.
You've been listening to Remember When with Uncle John on Y95. This broadcast can be heard each weekday morning at 6:45 on South Arkansas's favorite station, Y95.